So who are Countryside? So we're a house builder. I never thought I would be excited about working for a house builder, but I genuinely am. We're celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. The company started off as a family-owned, family-run, very small Essex-based house builder. Very different now, which you will hopefully see over the next 25 minutes. So we have two parts to our business. So there's the house building part, which is probably what everybody would associate mostly with house building. So it's buy the land, build the house, sell the house. Very much oversimplifying that process, by the way. And the other part of our business is partnerships, which is almost the bit that's, it's not more important, but it's the bit that's seen us through the last 3 years, certainly. And that is where we work with housing associations, and local authorities, and we regenerate deprived areas and urban areas. So that, as I say, that is a bit the part of our business that we're really, really trying to grow, because that will make us more resilient to any sort of future recessions. Speaking of which, the house building industry is very cyclical, so there's ups and downs. We're very fortunate at the moment to be on a massive upturn, and long may that last. But quite relevant for where we are at the moment. During the last downturn in around 2008, we had to make lots of redundancies, and a lot of people stopped going into construction. So what that means is now there is a real skills shortage, because people that would have been going into that kind of industry around 2008 didn't. And there's a lot of demand for people with the skills that we need currently, which obviously touches very much on the people strategy that I'll go into in a minute. So I will come on to the people strategy. I will save some time for that, but I did mention I wanted to talk a little bit about our business strategy. And I've got a few slides here that I've taken from a presentation that was given by our CEO literally about a month ago to all of our directors. And I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to pick out the bits that really touch directly on the people strategy. We're very fortunate in Countryside in that our CEO really, really, really understands the value, the true value of an HR department, a strategic HR department, I should say. And I know that's not within everybody's gift to deliver that. You're kind of stuck with who you've got, but we are very fortunate, and we do utilise that leverage, or we try to. So this was one of his first slides, our strategy: growth, returns, and resilience. Returns, I think, speaks for itself. The resilience part I touched on. This is why we're trying to really broaden our partnerships model, so that if there is a future downturn, we do have that balance and we can carry on operating. And the growth bit was the main bit I wanted to focus on. So that's right at the top of the strategy chart, and it is essential to where we want to be in 5 years' time. But we can only deliver that growth if we have people and we retain people. And that is why the people strategy is very directly linked to our business strategy. Again, there's a couple more slides from the material that was used a few weeks ago, and I won't go through everything, but I'm trying to really make the point. I'm probably labouring it too much, but the point that growth and people are essential to Countryside. So again, on the risk side, a lot of those things at the top, they're not necessarily things we can directly influence, so they're things we have to be aware of. But at the bottom of the list, people availability and rate of growth. And then at the top of the opportunities list, geographic expansion. Now, geographic expansion, we're already doing that quite rapidly, but you can only carry on doing that, obviously, if you have the people. And as I said at the beginning, that is not as easy as it sounds, because there is a real skills shortage for the kind of skills that we're looking for at the moment in the market. It's a highly competitive industry. I've never seen anything like it. I've worked in a few different industries, and just the type of base salaries that are being thrown around in order to get people is crazy. And so what we're trying to do is deliver something more than just competing on base salary with our competitors. We're trying to deliver something that means people want to choose to come to work for Countryside for other reasons. So this is just a little summary of the business strategy. Again, I apologise, I'm labouring the point a bit here. So the summary for us is the business is performing fantastically well. We're doing really, really well. We're the fastest growing UK house builder. It's a very exciting organisation to work for, a bit relentless, but in a good way. So the strategy we've got is working, and in particular, our partnerships expansion is driving growth, and we are growing. I think when I joined 3 years ago, we probably had 3, 4 offices. We've now got 10. I'll come on to it later, but we've just bought another company which has 450 people themselves, and lots of challenges with transitioning that company. But again, it's all about the people. It's all about having the resource to deliver the strategy. And again, this slide actually our CEO put together in a break, just by way of a summary. And interestingly, the main one is the line at the bottom. The people and supply chain are the only real limit to our growth at the moment. Just a note on that, the supply chain, our workforce is, so the people that do the labourers on site, they are not direct employees, so they're mostly subcontractors. But that still does have an impact on us, because if the subcontractors can't get the resource to build the houses, that clearly has a direct effect on us, even though they're not direct labourers. So that's another challenge that we try and consider where possible. So yes, it's all about the people, I think, in summary. And just the point above, actually, before I move off this slide, IT systems. So in the last 3 years, the pace has been so rapid that we have a relatively small HR team compared to the kind of things we're trying to deliver and the growth. Everybody, and the same with all the other support functions. So everybody's just been trying to react and keep up rather than be able to sit back and properly plan. So I think we're in a position at the moment where none of our systems feed into each other. So everybody in each department is just trying to get by. There were a lot of spreadsheets until GDPR happened, so there was a bit of a panic at that point. So one of the other things that we're looking at, which does link to benefits and people, is our systems as a company overall and not just in HR. Before I go into the people strategy, I just wanted to touch on the challenges, some of which I've mentioned in the business update section. But I think the challenges are really important, and hopefully you'll be able to see in the coming slides how we're trying to address some of those challenges. So yeah, as I said, our industry is highly competitive. It's very, very difficult to compete on base salary alone, which is why with the help of some of the Benefex team, we're trying to build something that's more than just about the salary. Demographics, this is, well, so many different demographics to consider. We've got offices all over the country. We've got even more sites everywhere. We have people who've been at the company a long time who remember the traditional family culture. We've got new people at all levels of the organisation, some people who have different views of how things should be done. There's all of that to manage. There's also different levels of seniority. There's different things that different people want. And I think one of the things that we've learnt over the last 3 years is you really do have to try and listen to your people, all of them, and one size doesn't fit all. And yes, that might be challenging where you have a business that has so many different groups to look at, but you should still try and do it, because that's the way you're going to achieve what you want. The acquisitions I mentioned. So in March we announced that we'd acquired Westley Group, who's another house builder, predominantly based in the Midlands, but also South Yorkshire. So that's a part of the country that we didn't previously have presence in, which is great. But prior to that, we also acquired Millgate Homes, I think around 2014. And they are a smaller company. There was about 80 people in Millgate Homes, but they again, very different company. They were a luxury end house builder, so we like going to look around their houses, several £1 million houses. But both of those companies have come with their own set of benefits, their own policies and procedures, their own cultures. So we're doing some work at the moment trying to transition that into one big countryside. Geography, I mentioned, links very directly with communication. So we have people not just in our 10 offices, but the multitude of sites that we have around the country as well. And it's really one of our biggest challenges is trying to reach them all and communicate with them all and understand what everybody feels and what everybody wants. And in particular, our site-based staff is a major challenge for us because they don't typically read email on a regular basis. So it's trying to find ways of making contact with those people and making them feel part of one company. The communication part very much links to the geography element, but also in our offices as well. I think we're trying to increasingly look for things more than just email to share ideas and share new benefits with people. A really good example of where we definitely need to do some work on communication. Every year, one of the things we pride ourselves in is our roadshows, which I do think are very successful. And we make sure that HR team, just the month of April, we're not in the office, basically. We're just all over the country. We go to all our major offices, all our major sites, and then we make contact, at least, with everybody on all the other sites. Sometimes it's only one or two people on a site, so you have to be a bit practical. But it does actually have an effect because people genuinely appreciate it, and they will sit and they will sign up if you take them through it. But I think we had an example this year of a couple of the site people who weren't really aware of Your Rewards, which is our Flex platform. And once they were taken through it with someone, they instantly signed up to several benefits because they suddenly realised what they had open to them. And that's great, but it's also slightly worrying because the fast pace of hiring means it's very difficult to try and keep on top of that. You can't give everybody the personal attention that I just described in that example. So, yeah, a few challenges in there. And changing culture, obviously, is probably the biggest one of all, which encompasses all of the above. When people ask me what the culture of Countryside is, I sometimes struggle to answer because it is very much transitioning, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we do have very much the core of what was the culture, which was very family-friendly, work hard, play hard, traditional values, some of which is great and some of which we're trying to retain. But we need to move forward, and to get to where we need to get to in our strategy, there's going to have to be some changes. And I think that's the crux of the work that we're working on with Benefex at the moment. It's about how do we get there, because as you can imagine, there is some resistance that we are meeting along the way. So I've recently hired a few new members into my team, which is good. So we've got some regionally based HR business partners, and they asked me what was our HR people strategy, which was interesting. So I gave them a bit of a long-winded answer, and then I realised that probably wasn't quite the succinct, punchy strategy that we needed. So we asked our CEO, what do you want from HR? And you'll not be surprised to see that his answer was just enable growth. That is what I need my HR team to do, enable growth. And clearly there's the levels beneath that we'll all recognise that we also need to do that helps to enable the growth. But it isn't that simple. It's that simple on paper, but it isn't that simple. I've got a slide on each of the elements of the strategy. I will focus more on retain. I think there is that the employee experience kind of encompasses all of it, but on the retain part, that's a little bit more where we'll focus today. Before I show you those, though, I just wanted to show you a visual of our growth. So at the far side of the slide, 2014, we had about 650 employees. Middle of the slide, roughly FY18, best part of 2000. So it's huge, and it's going to continue, basically. The slide carries on till FY 2022. So, and I should say that we're probably going to exceed the numbers because for our financial year doesn't end till September, but we're already at the number that's on for FY18. So it's massive growth. And as the slide says, we're planning to carry on that way. So what are we doing to try and achieve what our CEO wants us to achieve? So with recruitment, we have one recruitment person for the whole company. We need to probably change that. And she's done an amazing job since she started. she's brought the cost per hire down significantly. We were very over-reliant on agencies, so that balance between direct hire and agency hire is much better now. One thing that we find really, really successful is the staff referral scheme that we have. So the attrition from people that come in through the staff referral scheme is significantly lower than just the average attrition across the group. And I think it stands to reason that would be the case. If you refer someone, you're kind of responsible for them being good. If you've been referred, the person obviously likes the company, hopefully. And we also do, this probably helps, we offer quite a nice little reward for referrals. So we're very generous on that. We increased it recently because we realised that this was actually a very good way of retaining people. So we offer 2,500 for a referral, and if it's our senior referral, it's 5,000. So we've got some people in the company, as you can imagine, who make a nice little income out of referrals, which is fine by us. And I think one of the points to make there is if something works, keep doing it and do more of it. And the other thing we're focusing on now is going back to the point about the skills shortage. We're really trying to focus on getting people in at more junior career levels like graduates and apprentices, and then growing them through the business and hopefully keeping them for a bit longer because we are developing them and giving them something more than just the base salary again. We're a bit behind some of the other bigger house builders in that respect, but we're trying to catch up quite rapidly. And we have got a very good graduate programme. On developing talent, sort of following nicely on from the graduates bit really, we have put a lot of work into leadership programs, development programs, sales academies. This is an ongoing process, so we're not by any means complete on that. But we are really trying to show to our employees that there is a progression, whether it's upwards, whether it's sideways, that you can move around the business, you can learn new things. Again, just trying to keep the focus off just the base salary. So all of that's great, and the development part to some extent helps the attrition issue. But what else? And this is the question that we regularly ask our Benefex team. How do we become that house builder of choice? How do we make people want to join Countryside rather than another house builder? And how do we then make them stay? And I don't have all the answers, by the way, but I'll share some of the things that we're doing, which hopefully will be of interest. So in no particular order, the picture we've got here it's not actually the best picture. I should have probably chosen another one, but we've recently moved one of our regions from Brentwood to an office in Hertfordshire, which was quite contentious. There's about 60, 70 people. It was on paper, it's a 35-minute journey from Brentwood to the office in Hertfordshire, but you have to factor in the M25 and the A10, which anyone who knows those roads will know that you don't move very fast in the morning. So the beauty of this was it actually went really, really smoothly in the end. The MD for the region was one of our most experienced, long-serving and traditional of our senior leadership team, and would never have considered things like flexible working or dress down or anything vaguely 21st century. However, when we announced this move, his burning driver was he desperately wanted to keep the team together. He didn't want people leaving. He was very loyal to his team and they're very loyal to him. So we sat down with him and said, right, well, what do we need to do then? And we've offered some financial incentives for retention. We've offered a bit of travel costs cover. But the one thing we couldn't really work out how to compensate for was the time they're going to be sat in their car, which there's nothing you can do about the M25. So we have got him to agree to core hours, which is, we're piloting it in this office, and it is working fantastically well. So it's very exciting for us because it might not sound like it to some companies that where flexible working is normal. It's really not Countryside. So this has been a really great achievement for us, and we're hoping that we can use that as a good business case. It's very early days. They only moved in April, but we're going to try and gather some data to show other senior executives and maybe get something rolled out more consistently across the company. So that was great. Oh, and I forgot to mention the new office. It's a beautiful office. Everybody who goes there wants to work there. It's got loads of collaborative space, huge kitchen, very open plan, and the best bit is the MD specifically requested a games room. So there is also a games room there as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to replicate that kind of office design in any of the future offices that we're opening, of which there will be many. So the older offices probably will have to go back and do a bit of work on because they are much more traditional. But going forward, our offices will look like similar to that one. We were also looking at diversity and inclusion. We had a great result about a month ago. So we've got some significant improvements on our maternity and paternity policies. Again, for some of you in more forward-thinking companies, that might sound small, but trust me, this was really big. But we're struggling to communicate it effectively because it is such good news that the sort of top-down communication approach isn't really working. So we need to do a bit of work on that. And then, of course, last but not least, not quite award-winning this year, but we were a finalist, so next year maybe. But we have done a lot of work on our benefits scheme, and I'm just going to come on to that in the next couple of slides. So about 3.5 years ago, our CEO, I cannot take credit for Flex. Unfortunately, that was all down to our CEO. At the same time as we were launching Benefex, Your Reward, we also did a big benefits review across the whole company. We ran focus groups and we listened to what people said and we took action accordingly. And I think as a result, we have a very comprehensive benefits package. What we've then continued to do over the years we've been working with Benefex is we've made sure that every year we add at least one new benefit, usually two, and that we improve the benefits we've got. So every year when we go out with our road shows, we always have a really big good news story. And as you can see, I mean, it's not quite got everything that we've got here today, but I think there's quite a lot of the products that have been covered. Interestingly, though, we did the focus groups 3.5 years ago, and so much has changed since then. The other thing that I have learned is you have to keep communicating. So we've been quite lucky. The benefits we've introduced over the last few years have gone down really well, and we have done that in conversation with people, but we haven't had any major science behind it. So this year, when we did our roadshows in April, we asked people to complete a questionnaire to say what benefits they'd like to see next year. And interestingly, we've had themes in the past few years like health and well-being and financial well-being. And next year, they want experience days and wine club. So that's us told. No more health and well-being wine club. But joking aside, I think the point is we do need to communicate more regularly and get feedback more regularly. And I think the one thing that's missing, it was great that we got the questionnaires completed this year, but we didn't get the feedback from the site staff. So that's something that we'll work on during the rest of the year, maybe running some focus groups with those people, because it might be very different what they want to see from what the office-based staff want to see. What else? So just coming back to systems, we want to just try and make things as easy for people as possible. So we also make sure that our Your Reward site has as much as we can of all the other things that are vaguely rewards and people related. So our Save As You Earn, our share scheme, which is due to vest in March next year, and will hopefully be very lucrative for people. So there's a little link where people can go and have a look. The e-pay slips and our pensions and so on. And we'll continue to look at that. So we're going to try and make that portal as comprehensive as possible. So we've done loads of work on our benefits package, and I think we get really good feedback on it, actually. But what I've realised over the 3 years I've been at Countryside is it's not just about the benefits. And I think that's very similar to where Benefex are sort of pitching things now. It's not just a benefits portal, it's the full employee experience. And I really think that is so true for us. When we've started running employee surveys the last couple of years, and we always get really, really high scores on the benefits, not so high on the pay. but the benefits comes out really, really well, and we never get really any negativity about our benefits package. So then the question is, what else do we do? And this is the bit where I definitely don't have the answers, but what we're starting to look at is the full employee experience and how can we influence that with our executive committee. As I said, we've started running surveys. They've only been running countryside for the last couple of years. The first year we ran it, and we tried to have a group action plan, and then everybody complained that what we were rolling out wasn't necessarily appropriate for all the regions. So we've moved to a regional action plan, and we've got regional survey groups, and they all feed into a group forum, and guess what? Everyone wants the same thing, so you can't really win. But interestingly, we spent lots of money on benefits, and all they really want is fruit bowls and coffee machines. Which, joking aside, it's not about fruit bowls and it's not about coffee machines. It's all about the whole employee experience. It's all the little things that make your workplace a pleasant place to come and work. And we do expect long hours, so we really need to be delivering something that makes people want to stay at work or work from somewhere else. So the things on here are the things we're actually doing. So the survey groups, the small things, the fruit bowls, the coffee machines. We're working on internal communications, running roadshows with our site staff. We're piloting a recognition scheme. The bigger things that I haven't put down are things like flexible working, modern office environments, dress down. Those, I'll be really honest with you, they are bigger challenges. And partly that's because of the conflict between the traditional culture and the more modern culture. But I think, because I think I'm running out of time a little bit, I think the main point here is that it can be done. Whatever challenges you might come up against, it can be done. So celebrate the small successes, try and communicate them well, persevere, build the business case, and every small step is a step in the right direction, I think. So we've come a long way. We still have a lot to do, but the good thing for me is I can see that we're going to be able to get there. And that was everything I was going to share with you. Thank you.